Hi folks, Dr. Ed Beyer of Beyer Regenerative Medicine here in Tinley Park, Illinois. I'm making this video because it's a commonly asked question that I get and a source of confusion with people is where do we get our mesenchymal stem cells for repairing degenerative arthritic joints? There's basically two ways this is being done out there. They're obtained from our own body, right? Because we have them in our own body. They reside in our bone marrow and also in the fat. And this is kind of an old way of doing stem cell therapy where they'll go in and they'll drill into the ilium, the pelvic crest here, or take it out of your fat and then inject it into your bad knee or your shoulder. And that has helped a lot of people, and that's one source. But really, and this is the purpose of the video today, the best source is the second source, and that's human umbilical cord tissue, right? So we use human umbilical cord tissue stem cells, and that's important that you understand that when we obtain the stem cells from human umbilical cord, it's more than stem cells that we're getting. We're actually getting other things in the tissue that are very important for a successful stem cell outcome. So the first reason, and this brings me to the point what I was just mentioning, is that human umbilical cord tissue or stem cells that we get from human umbilical cord, they also contain these things called exosomes. Now, exosomes are little vesicles that actually stimulate the stem cells to go into action and regenerate cartilage, tendons, or whatever needs to be regenerated in the joint. Now, human umbilical cord tissue, along with the stem cells, also contains hyaluronic acid. Now, some of you may know that the gel injections that are so common, which we actually do in our clinic for the knee, is hyaluronic acid, because hyaluronic acid will cushion and it will also lubricate the joint. And we naturally have it in our joints, but it depletes as we age, especially in the knee. But there's a third thing that hyaluronic acid does, and that is that it acts as a scaffold or a mesh so that the stem cells have something to cling to. There have been some really good studies on this, that when you use stem cells, if you include a scaffold protein like hyaluronic acid, or it's actually a sugar or polysaccharide, that is like 1 + 1 = 5. They are synergistic. So human umbilical cord tissue, where we get our stem cells, has this in it, this natural mesh. And when it comes to the knee, some people may need a little bit more, so we'll follow up the stem cell therapy with some hyaluronic acid gel injections in weeks after the stem cells. But that's reason number one. Number two, it's just easier to process. I mean, who wants to have a needle stuck in their pelvic bone and pull out your cells? So, the way that we get our human umbilical cord tissue, our stem cells from human umbilical cord, they're donated. When a mother is 7 months pregnant, they ask her, look, hey, there's certain childhood disorders that it's very rare that your child can have, but and they would benefit from birth tissues like stem cells from the cord and hyaluronic acid and things like that. So would you want us to store your birth tissues, the umbilical cord and the amniotic membranes and the placenta, for a year in case your child were to have one of these disorders? And the mother's like, well, why would I not want to do that, right? So she also consents that if the child's fine after a year, that these tissues, these stem cells and these birth tissues can be donated to a tissue bank. Then from a tissue bank, a lab, just like this hospital would buy blood from a blood bank, a lab can buy these stem cells and these human umbilical cord tissue from this stored bank, okay, of tissues. And then that lab, hopefully is an FDA registered lab, will go through certain processes to make sure that these cells are very viable. And then they're just simply sent to us even cryogenically frozen, and we have them here in our cryogenic freezer. So it's very easy to process, and it's just the FDA is involved in it. So that's number three. When you pull your own stem cells out, and that's called stem cell rejuvenation. A lot of places are doing that, and it helps people, but not nearly as effective as human umbilical cord stem cells. The human umbilical cord stem cells go through an FDA regulation to make sure the cells are alive, right? Because you need them, they're very fragile. They have to be processed in a certain way. And then also the FDA makes sure that the laboratory, that all these cells are immune privileged. They go through a process called flow cytometry and making sure that there's no antigens or anything on the cell membrane that would create an immune response. So that's one of the benefits of using human umbilical cord tissue. Obviously, when you use your own stem cells, they're also immune privileged. But everybody's always asking me, well, we worry about an immune response. And you don't have to, because the FDA makes sure that every one of these cells is immune privileged. We've done over 1,000 injections in our clinic and not one immune response. One of the companies that we purchase our cells from, our Human Umbilical Cord Stem Cells, they've done over 100,000 injections, and there's never been an immune response. So folks, it's not an issue. And I hear this all the time. Well, we're worried about an immune response. Well, you're not doing your homework, okay? As long as whatever office that you go to or clinic that you go to that does stem cell therapy, as long as they're getting their cells from an FDA-regulated lab, it's not an issue. And really, the strongest, well, they're all important, but human umbilical cord stem cells are more potent. They're brand new. I'm 61 years old. Why would I want to use 61-year-old stem cells on my knee or on my shoulder or on my foot or wherever I'm having an issue? They don't replicate as quickly. That's the power of the stem cells, is they have to replicate quickly. A brand new human umbilical cord stem cell replicates every 28 hours. That means in a month, you're going to have 1 billion just from the one. I'm 60 years old. They replicate every 60 hours. At the end of the month, I'm going to have like 200. So the power is in the replication. So I hope that's very clear to you, for those of you who are considering stem cell therapy and aren't sure, should I use my own or should I use human umbilical cord? Human umbilical cord is the way to go. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to receive more videos from my YouTube channel, please remember to like and subscribe. Please, please, please. And if you know someone that might benefit from this information, please share it with them. I'm Dr. Ed Beyer. Talk to you later.